Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Isabella He, and I am a nutrition studies student at CCSF. On behalf of the Office of Student Activities and the Downtown Center's Associated Students Council, I'm very excited to welcome you to our very first Leadership Fireside Chat this semester. For those who are not familiar with this new leadership development program, the purpose of these leadership chats is to equip CCSF students and student leaders with a wealth of leadership insight, tips, and strategies. We hope you will have a better understanding of leadership in action from a diverse group of effective and seasoned leaders across various industries. Before we introduce today's speaker, Bernadette McBurnie, I'd like to share a few details about the program. First, those who attend 7 out of the 10 fireside chats are eligible to receive a certificate of participation at a recognition event in the spring semester. Every session is open to all students, even if you decide not to participate in the certificate part of the program. Since you have registered for today's session, thanks to Zoom, we have a record of your attendance. Nothing further is needed on your end to mark your participation. Next, please note that these sessions will be recorded. The links will be posted on CCSF's Student Activities Office website for you to view later or to share with others so that they may benefit from this learning opportunity as well. If you have questions about this Leadership Fireside Chat program and the certificate of participation, please email student activities at ccsflife@mail.ccsf.edu. I'd also like to share a little bit regarding today's format. After these opening remarks, Geisce Ly, the Interim Vice Chancellor of Academic and Institutional Affairs, will interview today's speaker for about 50 minutes. If you have questions for Bernadette McBurnie, please enter them in the chat. At around 5 p.m., there will be a question and answer opportunity for Bernadette to respond to your questions. During the last 10 minutes of our time together, we will invite you to share what you've learned today that will help you in your leadership development journey. Now, I will turn it over to Chloe to introduce today's special guest.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Chloe, and I am an ESL student at CCSF. I'm delighted to introduce today's speaker, Bernadette McBurnie. Bernadette has enjoyed a life full of rich, diverse, but also very challenging experience, both personally and professionally. This created a strong passion and commitment for women's empowerment, leadership, inclusion, and belonging. She has enjoyed a thriving career around the world, climbing the corporate ladders from software developer to IT corporate executive with large multinational corporations, including L'Oreal, BNP, and Indoze banks. From France to Hong Kong, Japan, Canada, and the United States, she gained invaluable experience leading teams and successful projects in very diverse cultures and organizations. She then chose to put her career on hold for 8 years to be a full-time stay-at-home mom of 3. As she puts it, she was the chief home officer. Then she moved on to become an entrepreneur. Over the last 20 years, Bernadette has created a successful wellness business while becoming a women leadership coach and international speaker. As co-success consultant, Bernadette works with large and small companies, helping develop high-performance leaders and teams. As a coach, she works with a wide range of corporate executives, professionals, and entrepreneurs who deeply care about creating and living success in all areas of their life by giving them a clear vision, purposeful direction, increasing their personal and leadership effectiveness. They are empowered to amplify their impact, their ability to give back and bring more abundance into their lives. I now would like to turn this over to Vice Chancellor Geisce Ly, who will be chatting with Bernadette about her leadership journey and experience. Geisce, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Chloe. I really appreciate, Isabella as well for welcoming us. Today is an amazing, special occasion. Again, Bernadette, I cannot tell you how grateful, how fortunate, how lucky we are that you agreed to be our first, Leadership Fireside Chat speaker this semester. To the audience members, you're in for a treat. I've known Bernadette for 5 years. She's so very inspiring, so compassionate, and so awesome. So I think this is just a very delightful opportunity for us to learn from Bernadette. And again, thank you so much for being a part of this program, students. And again, for the new folks, you can replicate this program anywhere. I see a colleague of mine up at Santa Rosa JC joining us. So thank you for joining us. And we also have folks joining us from other countries as well. So again, this is really, truly an opportunity for all of us to learn. So Bernadette, again, I'm just delighted that you agreed. And we'll get going because this session is about you, learning from you, learning more about how we can, be change agents. And again, I'm just delighted to start taking notes. So I will be the Oprah Winfrey-ish. And again, we're just so honored, Bernadette, that you're here with us today.
It's my pleasure. I'm so happy to be with everybody. So let's dive in, Jesse. Absolutely.
So in terms of your bio, obviously you have done so much. So let's start with the first question. Tell us about your career path and how you got to where you are today.
Well, you've heard it, from Chloe, a little bit of my background. Where I am today is I am today, first of all, at a place that I absolutely love because everything that I believe in is what I do, and that's just a blessing in itself. You've heard, I've had a corporate career, long corporate career. I've been an entrepreneur for the last 20 years. I'm a mom. I'm a wife, and all the things that I've done are coming together. Where I am today is the compounding effect of all the decisions that I've made. And that's one first thing that I want to say to everybody. Think about every decision and every choices that you make. You are where you are today is the result of all the decisions that you've made up to now. So think about that, right? And I'm blessed. I'm blessed, absolutely, because I'm able to. I love what I do. I do what I love, and I just can't see myself stopping doing it. That's the bottom line, Jesse. It's because it's just all about. And now for me, it's all about passing it down and paying it forward as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. And that's why you're a perfect, kickoff speaker, right? You have so many wonderful quotes. I've been following you on LinkedIn. One of your favorite quotes, Bernadette, is it's a very, very powerful one. So you wrote, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for and act on." Say more about this.
This is something that I believe from very young age. It's too often I hear people saying, I'm going to get whatever I'm going to get. And I say, no, if you do that, that means you're not taking charge of your life. And it's all about taking charge. This quote, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. A lot of time people say that. But the key thing is to act on. It's not enough to ask. You've got to act. You cannot just let it, to the outside world to decide. We've been given the gift of being able to decide what we want. Mm-hmm. And unless we decide to take action, nothing happens. If we're happy with where we want, but we want more, what are you going to do? In that case, be clear about what you want and make sure that you take action. But it's also about having the courage. How many of us have been in a situation when we think, well, I'd love to do that. I said, okay. But then I said, but I don't think I can ask. Well, it's about finding that courage and knowing, and courage is everything. Very often we talk about confidence. You say, and I say, it's not about, quite often we say, if I was more confident, then I'll do this. I said, no, it's courage first. You're going to build your confidence, but you need first to find your courage. Confidence, we don't necessarily have it, especially when we want to start something new. And that's what it is. So know what you want. Be sure you need to find courage before you can find confidence. And confidence will be built on your courage. And then you need to act on.
That's a very, powerful mindset to have the courage, right? To have, the wisdom to know I got to be courageous. So from your life experience, how did that happen for you? How did you find that courage? I know, from our conversations, you talked about public speaking, right? And you had a fear of public speaking. So tell us more about how you sort of dealt with that fear to find the courage to learn that skill.
Well, for those who know me, and a lot of time people don't believe that, but first of all, just let me say, I'm a deep, quiet, introvert. I am very happy on my own. I do not need spotlight, none of that. And I had to speak in my work, so I had to do what I had to do. But as soon as people were asking me to present or to do something, I always said no. And I refused that until I was in my early 40s. That's a long time, right? That's a long time to say no. But at that time, for those who have watched my TEDx talk, it's all about what I realized is I love, at that time I was in a very specific, I would say, role in my work, and people kept telling me, Bernadette, we need to hear you. We need to hear what you have to say. And my answer was, no, ask someone else. And I refused until one day I was asked one more time, and I could have said no. And going back to courage, I had to find the courage to say yes. And how did I find that courage? Is because I realized that if I kept saying no, I could never help the people I wanted to help. I could never tell them that I know what you're going through because I'm with you, right? And so it's really about leading by example. And leading by example is not that easy because we have to step out.
Right. Well, your inspiration.
And that's what gave me the courage, frankly, Geisce. It's because it was not about me. Mm-hmm. If I kept thinking about me, I would not have done it. Mm-hmm. Right. But it was not about me. It was about something far more important.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can't wait to learn, keep learning from you. So another powerful message and mindset that you believe in and you coach people around, right, is the words, find your voice, find your power. That's powerful. So how can one strive towards this goal of finding your voice, finding your power?
Well, first of all, I want to say, because this is a leadership chat, right? We have a leader. Leadership is a journey. Mm-hmm. It's not something that we acquire once, right? Because when people tell me, yeah, I know what it is to be a leader, I say, okay, that means to me, you still have a lot to learn, because a leader never stops learning. A leader never stops growing. Right. That's key, because every time we want to lead more in a different situation, there's different skills that needs to happen, right? But about finding your voice, finding your power, it's first about embracing who you are. It's about being proud of who you are, being proud of your differences. And by the way, I believe, imagine if everybody was the same, the world would be boring, right? The world is rich because we are all different. But because we're all different, we also sometimes feel that it's hard to step out of the crowd, right? It's not easy to step out of the crowd. And that's what it means by, finding your voice and finding your power. It's first, leadership starts from the inside. You want to embrace who you are as a whole. You're a unique human being. And that's the beauty of it. And that's where the power is. And not to be shy about it.
I think that I agree, absolutely. And again, that's why, there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom that you're sharing with us. And again, we have students, right, from all walks of life. And again, I think your courage and your insight is definitely going to empower our students and uplift our students, right, to be much more courageous than they are. So Bernadette, you also have branded yourself in so many different ways. And one of the things that you're very good at is that you empower women leaders, right? So what motivated you to want to empower women leaders? You empower people in general, but you definitely, have an expert, area in terms of coaching women leaders. So tell us more about that.
Well, you're absolutely right. I work with men and women in my line of work, right? I work with individuals, I work with teams, and so. And I love, because, is why do I have that soft spot for women leaders? Is because, first of all, I'm one of them. So I talk from my personal experience. My journey took me from France to where I am today here geographically in San Francisco. I lived in 5 countries, 3 continents. And that means a lot of very rich experience, but also a lot of challenging experiences. You know, when I started, I was a software IT. And I remember in the company that I was at that time, I was 27 years old. I was two, you know, and every year that company, international company, brought their all IT manager from around the world for an annual conference. That first conference, there was 32 managers from around the world, 2 women, and I was the youngest. I'm sure that many of you can imagine what that meant, right? It's really strange. and that's many years ago. And I know things have changed, but they haven't changed that much for a lot of things. So I've had I had to really face all the challenges of climbing the corporate ladder, of being in companies and cultural background where women had to face a number of challenges that were really difficult. I faced glass ceiling. I've been told that I couldn't go further. I couldn't be paid more because if you knew what was said to me, you would say, really? I said, yes. I heard a lot of very interesting things. So I know that. But the beauty, though, is my experience has introduced me to so many different environments. And because of my personal experience and professional experience, I've had the opportunity to literally learn and grab experience from so many different places around the world and different companies and structures. And women leaders, as much as a lot of time I hear women leaders say, you know, here, this is the challenges that we face. And I say, you know, the challenges you're talking to me about, they're pretty much everywhere the same. A lot of time we think that we are alone. We're not. We're really not. The challenges, they show up a little bit differently, but they're the same. And why women leaders? Because a lot of time women have challenges that have different set of challenges than men. That's just a fact of life. That's just a fact of life. I mean, it's not right or wrong. That's just what it is, right? And a lot of time, you know, is women they don't trust themselves enough. They have a lot of self-sabotage. They talk about imposter syndrome. With all my men clients, I don't hear that wherever they are. You know, or a lot of time they talk about, you know, I'm being told I'm not assertive enough, you know, all of those things. I have to tell you, in the last so many years, the challenges haven't really changed. and also leadership has been modeled to us for dozens, you know, a lot of years by male. And some of my best mentors and coaches are men. I love them. I respect them, but they also recognize that men and women bring to leadership a different set of qualities. Right. That's just the way. Yeah. And the beauty is we want more women, and more than ever, the world all around needs leaders who are very heart-centered, purpose-driven, and research shows that women are really strong at leading with compassion, with trust, and that's why. And frankly, there's so much talent on both sides. I want to see more women stepping out.
Absolutely.
That's really what it is.
Absolutely. Well, you know, I need to share with the audience that because of your life experiences, right, you started a women leadership program, right? You dedicated this program, you know, to helping, empowering, uplifting women. So say more about the specific program in terms of what you do during those sessions with those participants.
You know, it's first of all, there's definitely a very focus with women leadership programs. Leadership programs, I've always believed, you know, from a very young age, that when we build people up, magic happens, right? That's really what it is. And the leadership program, it's about really creating a success and leadership pathway. And the goal is to develop impactful and influential leaders. Now, what I'm saying here applies to women and men. obviously, right? But because women have very specific challenges, we need to communicate with women and men as well in a different manner. That's just what it is, because there's different kinds of, again, of challenges, of responsibilities. A lot of time, you know, women, even though the last 2 years have shifted things because of, you know, it is still well known that most of the, you know, the woman tends to be the home anchor. It has shifted in the last couple of years, but the reality is still very true. And that has put a lot more pressure on them. And I know a lot of women who said, I want to grow my career, I want to grow my business, but I don't want to sacrifice my personal life. How do you balance that? And so the success and leadership pathway and programs that I have is all about teaching leadership and always saying that if you want to become the best leader, you've got to learn how to lead yourself first. And by the way, that applies to everybody, men or women, right? It's not just women, men or women. The greatest leader are those who understand what self-leadership is about, and they keep working at it. They never stop.
Right. Absolutely. Well, this is a great segue, right? Because you have an online course, Find the Leader Within. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
So tell us more about your online course.
Well, thank you for asking about that, Desi, because this is the first of my online courses. I have a few, but this one, and I want to focus on that one because that one is what I believe the foundational course. You know, again, is a lot of time I have people who come to me and say, Bernadette, teach me to become a leader. Teach me how to lead my team. Teach me, when my children were young, I was very involved in my school. I was the president of the Parents Association, and I was doing fundraising with volunteers and all of that. That takes quite a skills to work with people, as many of you know, right? But I realized is I've got to lead to understand what role model am I, right? And leadership, by the way, is leadership at home and leadership at work, or leadership as a community and in our community, right? It's not just work. It's really what is the role model we want to be in our life, bottom line. And when we start to become the best leader as a human being, it spills over in everything that we do, right? And that is very inspiring. You know, when we say, I want to inspire people, I say, okay, look in the mirror first.
Right.
But look in the mirror. Are you inspired by who you are and what you do, or do you believe there's certain thing? That's what it is. So that online course is about really coming from a vision. What does it mean for you to be successful as a human being in your work?
Mm-hmm.
What are the challenges that you have? How do you build courage? Because there's steps, there's a learning curve about courage. Right. How do you overcome fears? Do you know what's in your way? Mm-hmm. Which a lot of time we are our worst enemy. Mm-hmm. We know that, right? We are our best ally, but we're also our worst enemy. So what is it that's in your way? And also is understanding about building, what are the skills we need to build? What are the competence? What is the competence? Right. And how do you stop that self-sabotage? How often, and none of you need to answer, but how many of you have said to yourself, oh, I'm not good at that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can't do it. Yeah. I did. Yeah. Many times. Or I don't know to do that. So we don't. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell everybody, skills are skills. We are not born with skills. Skills are learned. And everybody on this call is very smart. I have no doubt, which means that every one of us can learn as long as we understand what we learn. So that's part of what it is. And then it's also understanding that it's an ongoing commitment to who you are. So that's what foundationally what that course is about. Because once you learn to do that and you keep at it, it's easier to go for more ambitious project, or if you want to move, and it just keeps building yourself up on an ongoing basis. It's a cycle, it's like a vortex. You start here and you keep growing and it doesn't stop.
Right. Well, one of the things I've learned from you is your mantra, right? To become unstoppable, right? So I want to learn that, right? So share with us, what does that look like to become unstoppable, and what would one need to do, right, to get to that point where they see themselves as having amazing potential to do
Right.
great things in life?
Right. And well, I'm sure everybody will agree, becoming unstoppable, it's like leadership, it's an ongoing journey, right? Because as we evolve in our life, depending on the stages we are in our life, we face obstacles in our career, personal obstacles, something happened in our life, a sad event that is stopping us and so on. So we fall, and it's about learning to get back up. And becoming unstoppable is about understanding why we do what we do. And it's all about looking inside ourselves and said, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is it important to me? Why is it important to the people around me? Really connecting that, but not just from a rational point of view, from a very emotional point of view. Because let me say this to everybody. I know you know this, but you may not think about it. We make decisions, and our commitment is the strongest when we are emotionally connected to it, not rationally, emotionally. Why do we buy a car? Because we love that car, right? Why do we buy a dress? Because we love that dress. It makes us feel good. It's the emotion that makes us take decision, not the rational. Because there's so many cars we could choose from. Why that one? There's a reason for it. So it's understanding why we do what we do. Then it's becoming unstoppable. Again, it's going back to courage. How do I build that courage and break through all the obstacles that are coming your way? Because I will tell you this, no matter what you choose to do, a new career, you're choosing to move to a new city, a new country, you want to follow a passion project, something like that, you're going to have obstacles in front of you. That is bound to happen. That's just the way it is. And the question is, will you stop at the first obstacle, or will you go beyond? Right? So it's building that, understanding that. And again, it's your confidence, not confidence in yourself. And that usually is something that we, each and every one of us, struggle. I will tell you, I work with a lot of very successful people. They still deal with that. Too often we say, well, they're very confident. Say, no, you have no idea. They may not show it. You may not see them being stopped, but they still have to go through that, and they keep learning and growing. That's what becoming unstoppable. So it's about working on ourselves. And because it takes work, I'm going to give you a little warning. That's why a lot of people don't do it.
Yeah, it's so easy to have excuses after excuses, right? When the going gets rough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for reminding us to, keep going.
Yeah.
So Bernadette, again, you work with a lot of leaders, successful leaders, seasoned CEOs, right?
Yes.
And there's always a difference between coaching and mentoring. And I can hear, how wonderful, you are in just framing, how one would need to view things. So can you tell us the difference between coaching and mentoring, and what's your philosophy as a coach? What's your philosophy as a mentor?
Well, you've heard me say that before, is when we build people up, magic happens. And I believe that deeply, which is why I always say, by the way, let's start this as younger age as possible. I'm building people up right from the young age. The difference, coaching and mentoring is really because I mentor, without me knowing, I mentor a lot of people. Why do I say without me knowing? Because from time to time, I receive messages of people I absolutely do not know. But because they've learned or they've heard of me and all, they follow me. So you can find mentor and not be directly in contact with them, but you resonate with what they say, what they do. They are a role model to you. That's what a mentor can be. You can also be in touch, definitely directly with the mentor, and you are inspired by them. And And that's the difference. Sometimes, and by the way, sometimes people say, Bernadette, just tell me how can I find motivation in this? And say, well, as a mentor, I cannot motivate you. I can only inspire you. I can only give you guidance. The self-motivation comes from within. That is on you, not on me. I cannot motivate you. If you don't want something, let me ask everybody of you, if you don't want something, are you going to do it? I don't think so. So the motivation needs to come from within. Mentor is all about inspiring. It's about providing different perspective. It's about expanding your view, your mind on what you don't know, right? Coaching is about doing the work. It's about doing the work. Coaching is about understanding what are your talents. It's about increasing your awareness of your strengths and talents and learning how to leverage those talents and your strength. But it's also understanding what your weaknesses are, what is it that you're not so good at, and how you're going to manage them. Because that's really what it is. So then your weaknesses or what you're not so doesn't get in the way of your progress and your success. That's really what. And coaching is about creating a little bit of accountability. I always say to people are you coaching just for the sake of coaching, or are you ready to make things happen? Because if you're not ready to make things happen, you're fooling yourself. Let's be real. You're fooling yourself. You cannot change without making some change.
Right.
You cannot change or create different kinds of results if you're not ready to take action. And action needs knowing where you're going, what needs to be done, what action you're going to take, how are you going to measure and track your results, and then look at it. If you're not getting where you are at, is what are you going to do about it? Right? It's all about moving into action.
Wow, I wish I can remember exactly what you shared, because I mean that just hits it perfectly. So thank you for the reframe. So Bernadette, certainly as a coach, some people are you intonated, right? Some people are just not ready to be coached, right? So when you choose who to coach, what goes through your mind in terms of taking on that person as a potential client?
That's a great question, Jessie. I've had some people who approach me and contacted me and say, Bernadette, I'm thinking about having a coach. And I listen to them and say, well, first of all, I say, so I'm wondering what you think. I say, I don't think you're ready. And say, what do you mean? I said, because if you're just thinking about it, that means you don't yet understand the value of it. So it's not about thinking being back, is whether or not you believe you want to be coached. And the good question to ask yourself is, am I satisfied with where I am today? And I always say, if the answer is yes, great, then you don't need to change anything. Don't bother with a coach, right? But if you want to accelerate, or you believe you can get better at it, but you don't know how, that is probably now you're starting to get your mind around it. But then the second question is, are you willing to do the work? Because if you're not willing to do the work, you're not ready, because it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to learn new skills, to change behaviors, change habits. It's not going to be an easy process at the beginning. I say, so if you're not willing to do the work, nothing's going to change. You're going to waste your time and your energy and your financial investment by working with a coach. Don't do it. Right? And then I said, and then is, when are you ready? Are you ready now? Are you ready? I said, well, I'm not sure. I'll look at it later. I said, then you're not ready. Right now, you're just still wishing you're not ready. So these are the kind of questions you want to ask yourself and ask people. I will tell you one thing, is one time I remember I had somebody who came to me and said, Bernadette, I'm thinking about a coach, and said, but I've had coach before and it didn't work. I said, okay, now tell me why it didn't work. And that person had 2 other coaches before she talked to me. And she said, because I really would love to be coached by you. I said, okay, but tell me about your experience with the other coaches. What exactly didn't work? And one of the answers was, well, they were not telling me what I wanted to hear. I said, do you think that's what the coach is supposed to do? Because if you want to hear if you can only accept to hear what you want to hear, the coach is not doing her job or his job. The coach is to take you out of your box. The coach is to expand your mind. The coach is there to challenge you. You'll still do what you want to do, but the coach is there to expand you. And if you just want to hear what you want to hear, you're not going to expand to what who you could be.
Wow, that's so powerful, Bernadette. I mean, seriously, you're giving us like pages of nuggets of wisdom. Again, I'm just so inspired. I just want to say a quick plug for the students, the folks on the call. If you have questions for Bernadette, please, think about those questions, because at 5 o'clock in about 20 minutes, we're gonna, turn it over to me to facilitate the Q&A. So as you hear Bernadette, talking about her approaches to leadership and approaches to coaching and mentoring, again, we'd love for you to have the opportunity to ask Bernadette questions as well. So we're going to do that around 5 o'clock. So Bernadette, thank you. This is sort of like the intermission. So I just did the intermission. So for the next 20 minutes, I certainly like to ask you some more questions. And of course, I want to acknowledge that you are just an amazing TEDx speaker, and we'll get to that in a moment. Again, for the folks on the call, if you have yet to check out the TEDx talk, I'll add that in the chat in a moment. So before we do that, you are a brand, Bernadette. There's no doubt you are a brand. So tell us more about how you're branding yourself in the public speaking coaching circuit, because folks don't know there is a coaching circuit, there is a public speaking circuit out there. So how are you doing that to get yourself out there in the circuit?
It's interesting as a public speaker or as a speaker, is first of all, I want to say is I never intended to be a speaker. That was not a goal that I had. Everything that I've done in my life, even though at the beginning I didn't know that what was driving me, because I was too young and I didn't take the time to think about it, I realized looking back is everything that I do is all about uplifting people. It's all about making things better. It's all about doing the best that I can to be of service to others and to make things better. So with that in mind, I had no other choice than to speak. Right? That really is. And that was going totally against who I am as an introvert who loves to be left on her own. But that's when I had to step out to do that. So going back to how do I brand myself? I brand myself as I am. And that has been a process. And what do I mean by that is I talk about experiences who are real because I live them. I live them myself. I live them with my clients and all that. I talk about things that I know. I don't talk about things from a theoretical point of view. I do believe that the best speakers are not the speakers who go on stage for the sake of speaking. I do believe that the most impactful, influential speakers are those who speak from the heart and from a place of being real, which is scary because when you come from a place that is real, that means you have to tap into your own experiences. You need to open up. You need to be vulnerable. You need to have the courage to do that. That is not that easy to do, but it is the most powerful. When I decided to speak the first time, when I said I refused and to speak even if a group of 2 people, the first time I accepted, and by the way, you want to tackle a fear, tackle a big fear, because then the others are going to be easier. I accepted to speak for 3 minutes on stage in front of 800 people.
Wow.
I refused to speak in front of 2. I accepted to speak in front of 800. 3 minutes, and it felt like a lifetime. I was not there to speak for 3 minutes. I was there to give a message. And that's what made me say yes, because it wasn't about speaking, it was about giving a message. My TEDx talk is it's about the same process. Because when you give a message, it's not about you anymore. Right? It's about the people who you want to connect. It's the people who you want to empower. That is, how many of us would agree that a lot of time we do things for others more than we do it for ourselves? That's it.
Right. Well, Bernadette, again, you are just so dynamic in so many different ways. And hopefully in 10, 20 years, one of the participants on this call will say it was Bernadette who inspired me to be a motivational speaker. So on that note, if someone wants to be a motivational speaker, right, what are the 3 pieces of advice that you would give them?
First of all, is you heard, my story and my process. I was never trained to speak. I was not at all. I was the total opposite of who you would choose as a speaker. I'll be honest with you. And so, first of all, whatever is in your mind that's saying to yourself, oh, I can't do that, I can't be that, I say, you can. I know, I've done it, and I'm helping other people do the same. So there's no reason why you couldn't do that. So that is one of the fear and limitation you're putting on yourself, right? That's one thing. And the greatest limitation are usually the one we put on ourselves. So that's a little nuggets for all of you. So think about that. But so first, that is then know why you want to speak. Why do you want to speak? Why is it important for you to speak? Is it about your ego to be on stage in front of people? Or is it about connecting with other human beings that are waiting for you to hear you? That's a big difference, right? Enormous difference. And then ask for help. You heard me saying that I spoke for 3 minutes in front of 800 people the first time. I hired a coach. I went to a speaking coach. And I'm not saying that all of you need to do that. You do whatever you choose to, but I knew I couldn't do it on my own. I never did it. And one thing that another nugget for you, whatever you choose to do, whether it's public speaking or something else, if you've never done something, you need help. You need support. Because if you knew how to do it, you would have done it already. Sounds obvious, right? But a lot of times say, no, I don't need to do it on my own. And then and that's also what creates, and by the way, it will make the fear bigger and bigger instead of just breaking it down.
That's so true.
And then practice. Another thing, that 3 minutes talk that I gave, I rehearsed it. I wrote it. I recorded it. I listened to it every morning, every lunchtime, every evening for a month.
Wow.
3 minutes. You practice.
Yeah, I think that's great advice to conquer your fears, right? You just got to practice until you get very, very comfortable with what you'll be doing.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So I want to shift gear a little bit. I know it's 4:48 now. So again, you've been an inspiration and role model to so many folks. Who has been your inspiration and role model?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people, and a lot of time are not necessarily well-known people, so there's no point mentioning names, but people who I've met in my life who have inspired me because because of what they were doing, because of who they were as human beings. There's, in terms of coach and mentoring, there's, I'm a reader, by the way. I'm an avid reader. So sometimes I'm inspired by books that I read. So it's not really people, but it's books that I read, and so, but for me, it's more the human being than the personality that who inspire me. And I'll be honest with you, with having the work that I've done, which I love, I'm inspired by every person, every client who I work with. Because I see, if I see somebody, I say, oh my gosh, I've learned to recognize their talents that a lot of times they don't even realize that they have. And I show that to them. So my inspiration, I would say, frankly, my biggest inspiration, Geisce, are everyday people.
Mm-hmm.
And because I see how much who they can become. Somehow they know it, but they don't dare to believe it. Mm-hmm. And I'm here to just take them to that next level.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think you and I, we have so many, common principles, right? Because I believe there's greatness in every individual. Yeah. There's greatness.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, we do what we can to uplift others.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the ways that you're doing it each and every day, right, is the fact that people are watching your TEDx video. So the title of your talk, right, is The Power of Being Seen. Mm-hmm. So what inspired you to take on this particular topic? And again, folks who have not watched it, please watch it. Share it with others. It is just an amazing TEDx talk. So you did an amazing job. I again continue to appreciate you representing, right? Sometimes we don't see folks, mm-hmm. right, that look like us. And I just so appreciate, you sharing your life story.
What inspired me to do that TED? Well, let me just say a thing. It was about 3.5 years ago, I decided I wanted to give a TEDx. Again, because I had a very specific message to give. It wasn't about being a TEDx talk, because this is a whole, I've spoken since then, since I spoke for that 3 minutes, I've spoken on small and large stage and so on. But giving a TEDx talk is something different, I have to say, because when you're speaking to an event, it's just that group who hears you. A TEDx talk, once it's online, you have no control, right? You're talking about putting yourself out there. It's a very different mindset, a different process. But 3.5 years ago, I decided to do that on the topic of fear, how to break through fears, but in a very specific manner. And then COVID hits, all the events went off and all that. So I totally forgot about it. But somehow they kept me on the list or whatever, right? And it was in May, just this May, I received an email from one of the TEDx locations that would love to have you as a speaker. And I'm looking at the email and say, what? So I was not prepared at all. And I had just 4 weeks to get ready for the TEDx talk. 4 weeks, short time. I had to write it, I had to submit it, I had to do a video, so they could see it and so on. And then I had to rehearse it, and then the result is what you see on YouTube. And what I decided to do, because of my background as when I grew up as a minority in France, with all the challenges that means, my journey, personal and professional, has taken me all over the world, and really just exposed me to diversity, good and bad, honestly, right, in so many ways, and so on. And what I realize is I am determined. You know me, Geisce. I'm all about empowerment, developing women leaders, inclusion and belonging, because of all the experience that I lived. And I knew that one of the best ways that I could help is by sharing some of the journey that I went through. I will tell you this, it was frightening to be on stage of the TEDx stage. And I use my word very carefully. And I will tell this to everybody. Within 1 minute of starting, my mouth was so dry. I absolutely believed that no words would come out. And I really had to control my emotions as I was giving out my talk so the words could come out. So even though I spoke for hundreds of times, right? So that was quite an experience. But then when it was recorded and it was finally put out on the internet, on the web, where there's no control, that is another level of putting yourself out there. So, the power of being seen that's what this is about. And I will say this, I didn't, in the last 3 weeks since that video, that TED Talk has been out, the emails, phone calls, messages that I've received have been so overwhelming that I literally had to step out for a few days just to really just take in everything that was happening. And the messages coming from youngsters to adults, men, women, and saying, Bernadette, yes, I live that. Yes, I live that. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And it has been just phenomenal. So for each and every one of you who's here, you don't know how your story is going to empower and help somebody. You don't know. And I always say, if it helps one person, that's one person. And you don't know what that ripple effect is going to have down the road. That's why I did that TED Talk, Jesse.
No, that's amazing. Again, I know in 10, 20 years, the folks on this call and those who are going to be watching this recording will say, Bernadette changed my life. She was the inspiration, right? She was the reason why I did X, Y, and Z. So Bernadette, there's no doubt. We don't know the ripple effects, right, of your messages, of your inspiration, but again, there's no doubt.
Exactly.
You're definitely making a difference.
You absolutely, and I do this not just for the people I don't know, but I do this for my children, just to empower them. I do this for the people I work with. I do for all the people. Say, I don't know who I'm going to touch, but that's enough. I don't need to know who it's going to touch. It's enough.
Wow, that's true. So we're coming up with 4 more minutes, and then I'm going to turn it over to our student facilitator, Nifam. So for the folks in the audience, again, please, if you have questions, please start, entering them so that we can get to your questions. So Bernadette, 2 more quick questions to wrap this up. Again, it's been such a pleasure to ask you questions, listen and to sort of be inspired even to a different level, right? So thank you. 2 more questions. Again, this is just your legacy. Let's talk about your legacy. You have three kids, right? You've touched lots of lives, thousands, millions of lives. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh, what do I want to be? I want to be remembered. Family is everything for me. First of all. I've always said for the longest time, if I don't succeed at home, that's me. If I don't succeed at home, I don't succeed at all. And so for me, it's very important. And because I believe that family is the core unit of our communities. So I want to strengthen I want to make my family as strong and as happy as could be. So then communities can grow as strong and as strong as possible. I believe, that to me, it's about helping people understand that they are enough, they are good, and it's about helping them become the best of who they are. Because when they become the best of who they are, and not only that, but live their best life, whatever that means to them, because success for everybody is different. And there isn't one definition of success. You've got to know what success means to you. And my role and responsibility is to help you become successful in your own way. And why? Because I believe that when you become the best of who you are and live your best life, you're going to be able to best serve the world. And that's why I do what I do. So everything is driven by that. Yes.
Wow, I absolutely agree. It starts within, right? It starts with you, right? I absolutely agree. So Bernadette, one last question, and again, you've given us so many to think about. One last last advice, you must do this or else, what would that be?
Ask yourself right now, envision yourself in the future. Envision yourself in the future and ask yourself, who do I want to be when I grow up? In a way, right? And why am I, be really aware of where you are right now. Because leadership, by the way, really starts with awareness. It's the awareness of who you are right now. The good and the not so good. Be honest. The more honest you are with yourself, the more you're going to be able to grow. It's the moment that we fool ourselves that actually we don't expand. Okay, so awareness is key. So be aware of where you are right now. Then do all you can to really get clarity, crystal clear about where you want to be. And I know that to live in the future is too far out, but what it is. And I'll tell you, I'm going to end you on this because I think that may help you. When we started to have a family, my husband and I, and we have 3 kids and they're very close in age. And when it was time for me to go back in, because I stopped, working to be a full-time mom, when it was time for me to go back into the world, I asked myself, like, what am I going to do? I've stopped working for 8 years, and coming from technology, I was obsolete. Let's be clear, because technology evolves so fast. But I did an exercise, and I'm going to tell everybody what is that exercise that I did. I took a piece of paper and I drew a line in the middle. And on the left side, I put on the left side what it is that I wanted to find in my next career, because I didn't know any other word than that. And on the right side, all the things I didn't want to find in my next career. And what that meant is what I wanted to find was, I wanted to have control of my time. I wanted to work with people who inspire me. I wanted and I wanted to do a work that mattered. So I put all that. I didn't want put all that down. And on the right side, all the things I didn't want to find in my next career. And then what I realized is that, oh my gosh, how am I going to find that? Because it seemed like an impossible dream. What I realized years later is that actually my definition of success was all I wanted to be happy. For me, success was happiness. And happiness meant what? Why? Because I know me. I don't know about you, Jessie, or anybody who's on the call is. I know that when I'm happy, everything goes well and everybody around me is happy. If I'm not happy, people are going to feel it, right? And everything flows. More positive things happen. And that meant I had to lead my life. Because for me to be happy, I had to build my life the way that I wanted to live it. And that meant I had to constantly look in the mirror and lead my life, which is why so then I could thrive. Which is why if you go on my website, you would see those 3 words showing up: lead, love, thrive.
I love it.
And that's really what it is. Love is in the center. That's where it started. But for that, I needed to lead and take full responsibility for myself, my actions, my choices, the good or the not so good. No blame, no passing on the responsibility. I had to lead. So then I could thrive the way that I want to thrive.
Yeah, I love it. That's a perfect ending. I wish I could keep asking you more questions. I just want to say again, thank you, Bernadette. You're just so awesome. Again, for the folks who don't know Bernadette, I can vouch. She is one of the most awesome person in the world. And again, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time. I do want to transition. I do want to first acknowledge we have our student chancellor, Heather Brandt, on the call. So Heather, thank you for joining us. We also have our student trustee on the call as well. So Malanali Villalobos, thank you for joining us. Again, we are trying to promote leadership development, right? We're trying to practice leadership in action. So it's great to see our student leaders, being a part of this leadership development program as well. So at this point, I will turn it over to our very, very seasoned student facilitator, Nhi Pham, who will be asking questions from the audience. So thank you so much again, Bernadette. Turn it over to Nhi.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Nhi Pham, and I am a student at City College. I'm currently taking Early Childhood Education's course. Thank you, Vice Chancellor Ly, for inviting Bernadette today. And thank you, Bernadette, for taking your time out of your busy schedule to share your stories and experience with us. We have learned so much from you. Like today, when you mentioned about embracing who you are the decision of what you make. It's really, and I have taken so many notes from you. I see that there are several questions in the chat, and if you have a question or comment, feel free to enter them in the chat. For the next 18 minutes, I will be facilitating this Q&A portion. So let's start with the first question in the chat. Bernadette, are you ready?
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
Yes. The first question is, you might have or have faced struggle during your leadership journey, playing different roles in your life. When you face obstacle or struggle, did you or do you have something to soothing your mind, such as piece of music, painting, or anything in your interest?
Yes, I definitely had a lot of struggles like everybody else, no success happened, by the way, no success happened without any struggle. And a lot of time, I said to myself, oh, I wish this was not happening. And I realize now, whenever there's a struggle or I say, welcome it. If any of you are struggling, I would say to you, welcome the struggle, embrace the struggle, because you're going to come out stronger. You're going to come out more confident. That's, when we say to people, they have a lot of experience. How did that happen? Through struggle, through making mistakes. So welcome it. So that's one thing. What I do when I feel like that is I love music. I absolutely love music. So it's not one specific piece of music, but it's music. And I listen from classical music to pop to, rock. I mean, I just love music as a whole, opera. So whenever I need just to calm down, distress, I just put music. And I love dancing. So myself, with people who know me, sometimes I'm at home and specifically if I'm on my own, I would put the music, I put it as loud as I can, and I just listen to the music and I dance. So whatever it is, that all about bringing that energy up. If I'm not on my own, I just put my headset and I do the same. So whatever inspires you, whatever allows you to release the stress and the tension, just do it. If it's walking, taking a walk outside, that's what you do.
Thank you. And the second question is, what is your why, Bernadette?
My why? Well, I think I've expressed that quite a bit, today is, especially at the end when I was saying, is my mission truly is to help people become the best that they can be. Because I do believe that everybody deserves to live the best that they can be. And what I mean by best is it's about them becoming who they are. There's incredible talents in everyone. And a lot of time we just being told for whatever reason, whatever circumstance, that we can't do this, or we shouldn't be that, and all that. And we tend we think that we should be like that, or we should. I said, no, you don't need. The moment you think you should, you're going against who you are. So my role is to do that, is to help people realize who they are and help them become that they can be who they want. So then they can just live life, love life, enjoying, have fun at the same time. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing what you're doing? And at the same time, make a difference around them.
Thank you. And we have a question. what do you do in order to be encouraged?
Well, I've learned, first of all, is I surround myself of people who, just like me, are positive. I've been told, and I know that, and that's a choice, by the way, everything is a choice. There's one quote, one thing that I said, and I've said that to my children since they were very young, and I say that to my clients and say that, and this is what I say. Be conscious of the choices you make. They create the life that you live. Let me repeat this. Be conscious of the choices you make. They create the life that you live. And that applies to your health, to your work, to your relationship, to how you live, to everything in your life, right? So it's all about surrounding yourself, making the decision, making decisions and choices that support who you are and what you want. And in terms of people, surround yourself with people who also are looking at the future. I'm all about building future. My past is my past. I don't stay in the past. I'm all about building future, better future. So I surround myself with people who want to do the same.
Wow. So the next question is, when troubles suddenly happen and you feel like you lose your courage, how do you manage yourself?
First of all, I think it's important that we need to take care of ourselves, to everyone, right? It's particularly the last couple of years have been extremely taxing on everybody, very stressful on everybody, more than ever, right? So what I'm saying is even more obvious, more necessary. We need to take care of ourselves. And I'm not talking about just physically, because self-care, too often people look at self-care and it's more about the exercises, the food, the sleep. Yes, absolutely. That's one piece, but that's just one piece. It's all about the emotional, the mental, self-care, the social self-care. So when we need to find courage, we need to step back a little bit and say, okay, how am I taking care of myself here? And then really having that decision, making the decision and that practice of taking ourselves on an ongoing basis, but looking at all the aspects. Okay. Because this is, and I always say, and particularly to the women, because women have a harder time doing this than women. That's just a fact. If you don't take care of yourself, who's going to do it for you? Nobody. Nobody can. But then don't complain. I said to women is, if you're breaking down, you're doing this to yourself, right? So again, it's about taking responsibility for what we do and what we don't do. So that is part of how also we find the courage. It's about building resilience. It's about understanding all of that. And that is a piece of it.
Yes, and we have a question. Have you ever had someone think you were mean or rude for being a leader and taking charge? How do you handle it?
Well, of course, when you're a leader, you are putting yourself in a situation where you open yourself to criticism. You open yourself to people who don't agree with you. That's what a leader is, by the way. So I said, if you don't want negativity, if you don't want any, I said, don't step there. But I think it's you're going to miss so much if you don't put yourself in some kind of leadership responsibility. You're going to miss so much. First, first of all, a leader doesn't always make the right decision. It's important to understand that. And if we don't, it's to recognize that we don't make it. We didn't make it and say, I'm sorry, you're right. That was the wrong decision. It's to admit we're human beings. We're not robots. And because we're human beings, we make mistakes. But so it's about recognizing that and then learn from it. Learn from it. I always say it's okay to make mistakes. I always say to people, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from it. It's the moment you don't learn from it, that becomes a little bit of an issue. Because if you don't learn, you're going to keep doing it. And if you keep doing it, then that's not okay.
So we have another question on a lighter note. What is your favorite ice cream and why?
Oh, I love sorbet more than ice cream. I love sorbet. But is that to have a specific? Maybe not. I definitely likes mango and lemon. But frankly, you give me a sorbet, I'll have it, whatever the flavor is.
Yes, and another question is, so how do you embracing who you are? Because you mentioned in your speech.
Well, think of it that way. When we don't embrace who we are, we're going against ourselves, right? We are not allowing ourselves to show up the way that we can. We're putting ourselves in a box that doesn't fit. That is going to limit yourself. You're going to feel something in your life is missing. You're going to feel that, oh, I know I'm meant for more. I know I could do this. I know this is not me. And you're going to create unhappiness for yourself. So first is know who you are and surround yourself of people who embrace who you are. No judgment. They are the people who say, yes, you are like that, I'm like that. There's nothing wrong with that. On the contrary, look at your talents. So recognize, it's not about guilt. It's not about feeling defeated. And that's a process. But that's why your social surrounding, your work surrounding, your friends around, all of this is important. Are you around the people who will uplift you, who believe in you, who will be there for you, and they don't judge? And will you do the same for the others? That is a process. Just know it doesn't happen just like that, because we're facing so many obstacles, so many biases in everywhere, and that takes time to let go. But it starts with the decision. And that's one thing that I want to say. Everything that you choose that you will do starts with the decision. Even if you don't know how to, as long as you've made the decision, that's where it starts. Then if you don't know how to, find somebody who knows it. Find somebody who's done it before you and ask them. And ask for help.
Yes, so we have a few more minutes for this Q&A. Again, if you would like to ask Bernadette a question, please enter it in the chat. And the next question is, how you started teaching your kids to be leaders?
I don't teach them to be leaders, my children. What I'm hoping I'm showing them is that they want to emulate who I am. And what I mean by that I want them to have the courage to stand up for who they are, the courage to stand up for what they want. They don't have to follow my path. They don't have to follow their dad's path. They are who they are. And that is all what I want. I want my children to be happy, whatever they choose to do. I have my son the three of them, they're doing what they choose to do. And we're there for them. And it's giving them the space to be who they are. It's being there for them when they need us. No judgment. No, I told you so. We don't do that. We listen. We listen as much as we can. And that's it. So it's, and then for them to realize again that they are powerful as they are. They don't need to be someone different. They are who they should be. And all I'm trying to do with them, what my husband and I try to do, is just to show them that they're powerful as they are. They don't need to copy someone else, because if they do that, they're not going to be happy. And I have to tell you, it's all about, again, I mean, they take responsibility, their own, and they're happy. And I love what they're creating for themselves. For me, that's one of my greatest successes, to see how my children have been growing up.
Yes. We have time to ask Bernadette one more question. The question is, do you have fear? How do you overcome it? How do you overcome them?
Of course I have fear, like everyone. And by the way, you know, when I've had some people say, I have no fear. I say, really? Are you lying to yourself here? Because I don't know any human being who doesn't have fear. And say, oh, if you don't have fear, that means you don't have emotions. If you don't have emotions, you're dead inside. Right? Of course we have fear. And by the way, every time that we start something new, we're going to have fear. There are fears that disappear, but there's new fears that will appear. That's just what life is about. But fear, I know now, way back then, fear was stopping me from doing things, like the fear of speaking. Now, I see fear as a motivator. I move from fear to power. That's really what it is. I have that fear. I'm going to do everything I can to break through that fear. And that's when I really find out who I am and what I'm capable of. And I can promise each and every one of you, when you do that, you're going to realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize I could do this. So yes, fear, absolutely. Don't deny the fear. Acknowledge it. Ask yourself why. And then instead of asking yourself, why am I afraid of this? Why that doesn't help. Ask yourself, what am I going to do to conquer that fear? Because the moment you said, what am I going to do? Or how am I going to do to conquer that fear? Now you're looking for a solution. You're looking for a way to break through. When you say why, you're keeping yourself in the fear, and the fear keeps growing. So don't feed the fear.
Thank you so much for answering all the questions. I really impressed. And now I will turn it back over to Jose.
Thank you, Ni, for turning it over to me and for facilitating the Q&A portion of our event. Everybody, my name is Jose Kerkeve, and I am an ESL student at CCSF. And I want to say thank you again, Bernadette, for answering some more questions for the audience. We really appreciate you sharing helpful tips, lesson learned, and sage advice. I personally loved hearing about your experience, but especially about your life, about how you think the education of your children. I love when you say that we came to this world to be happy. Doesn't matter what means happy to you or what means happy to me, yes, but I believe on this. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this talk. Now I am going to facilitate the last portion of our time together, which is to invite you to share what inspired you today or what you have learned from Bernadette. If you would like to share, please raise your virtual hand in Zoom, and I will call you. Yes. Hi, hi Taeko, how are you? I see your hands up. Please share with us.
Oh, first of all, thank you, Jose. First of all, Bernadette, thank you very much for your time, sharing your sharing your incredible experience as a leader, as mother, as house professional, whatever you name it. I'm just so impressed. And my takeaways today, I have 2 takeaways. And that's from what you said, what you shared, your words. And one is, I'm mother of 1 child anyway, by the way, and I'm too struggling with just 1 child, but for you, 3, incredible. Anyways, you said, you shared this word, welcome to struggle, welcome to struggles. That was so striking. And this way, and another word you presented or you shared with us was fear is a motivator. That 2 words really resonate with my current situation. And yes, I have, of course, in your life, nobody has fear. But what you explained to us is that just anyway, move on with the fear, with the fear behind you, or, with the fear together. And, I'm right now, I kind of started a huge challenge as of this semester. And I'm struggling, but, I'm so glad that I joined this session. And I'm so glad that, body of words that I had a privilege to hear your two words. So I wrote them down, and I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna see that whenever I have, difficulty. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Before we hear someone else, I just want to add for each and every one of you. When you think about your fear, ask yourself, by not facing your fear, what is it costing you? What is it costing you by not facing your fear? What is it that you're cutting yourself off from? And then ask yourself, once you break that fear, how will your life, whatever that means, be transformed? And then you have a choice and decision to make. Are you going to get stuck, continue to get stuck, or are you going to just find that courage?
Thank you, Bernadette. And thank you, Taeko, for sharing your takeaway. I see Mayara.
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Bernadette. I just wrote something in the chat that I would like also to mention before I start speaking, but so many takeaways. It's just like amazing hearing from you. Some of my takeaways that I took so many notes. You have no idea. My computer here is full of information, and speak from your heart, have the courage, connect emotionally with other human beings, ask for help, know who you are and where you want to be, lead your life and practice to go through fear. This is it's going to be my mottos from now on. And I don't want to forget every words and every story that you shared with us today. I am an actor and I love being on stage. So I am the opposite of you, Bernadette. And it's just so interesting to hear from you and see how different we are. And, I love being on stage and speaking and being in front of people, and seeing that audience in front of me just makes me feel so happy. And I've been there like that way since I was a kid. And, and people ask me, Mayara, how you feel so comfortable speaking? How you like doing it? Teach us or help us out doing this. And when you said that you need to speak, not because of you, but because of people, that makes sense, because when I am on a stage, when I'm speaking with somebody else, I want to convey the message to help them, to be useful, to be somebody in their life and help them out somehow. And now it makes sense when people like ask me, now I know how to answer that question, because you gave me the information that I needed, actually, and thank you very much, Bernadette. And somebody else, something else that I would like to finish my thoughts is that when you practice, you go through fear. And something else that makes sense, because when you are actor, you have to practice your lines, and it just flows naturally, when you really practice them, because you already memorized, you learned, and then it makes everything smooth, everything easier. So thank you so much, and I am just amazed by your talk. And I hope to see you again in the future, in other presentations and other opportunities. Thank you very much. And thank you for listening and giving me the opportunity to also speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayara. I see another hands. Malanili.
Malinali, thank you, Jose.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you, Bernadette, for taking the time sharing your words and your wisdom with us here at the CCSF community. I think one of my takeaways is when you started talking about inspiration and motivation, or inspiration versus motivation. I think that that resonates with myself on how to differentiate. Inspiration is more of the mentoring, and inspiration is more of the mentoring, and I'm here to inspire more than anything else. So thank you. That's a takeaway that I'm taking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have just one more minute for one more takeaway. I see the next one, Hans, is from Isabella. Isabella, please share with us your takeaway.
Thank you, Jose. And
You're
thank you,
welcome.
Bernadette, for sharing so much information in what could have probably been double the amount of time. But I think, like echoing Mayara and me, I took lots of notes. I will be reviewing them. Something that I wanted to, as a takeaway, when you mentioned that fear is a motivator, and then you also mentioned when you make mistakes, it's important that you learn from them. And I think that I felt some kind of connection between that, because if you don't work through your fear and if you let it consume you, then you can't get through it. And I think it's the same with making mistakes. Obviously, everybody's going to make a mistake. What's more important is getting through it and learning and growing and improving yourself, because it's not only good for you, it's good for whoever maybe you've grieved or whatever. And I thought that was really important. It kind of made me think, like this is something that I can use for my life too. And I also really, really loved your advice about surrounding yourself with people that, that care about you, and comfort you and build you up, because they'll be there when you fall down. And I think that's incredibly important. So thank you so much for your time today and talking about so many amazing things. And like Mayara said, I look forward to hearing you in future opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Isabella. Jose, can we hear from Heather? I know she had her hand up. I think she was the last one. Could we hear from Heather, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
No worries. Thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you, and my apologies for coming in late. I wish I could have heard all of the discussion today, but I'm glad that this is recorded, and maybe I can request a copy so that I can see that. But I really appreciate the things that you've shared throughout this Leadership Fireside chat today, and the importance of connecting with yourself and knowing yourself. I think that that's incredibly important in order to be able to help others. First, you have to have a sense of self, and and help yourself first. And so I think that resonated through the various different things that you were saying with starting at home and then going out. But yeah, I just wanted to take the time to thank you, and thank you to Geisce Ly for the space that you make for students and for connecting us with the various different speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, for sharing with us your thought, your takeaway. Now I would like to ask Bernadette if you have any final leadership advice that you would like to share with us.
Oh my gosh. Final leadership advice. It's not if. The words you say to yourself are very important. You're going to really think about this, is your words are going to either empower you or disempower you. So be very mindful and very intentional about what you say to yourself. The moment you say to yourself, I don't know about this, I can't, I'm not good at, you are putting yourself down. The moment you say, I don't know, but I can learn, you're going to find a way to learn. And now you're moving into possibilities. And to create the better future for yourself, the people around you, in your community, your family, it's all about moving into the better future. So that's the one thing. Again, it's all about leading yourself. You need to get control of your mind. You need to get your control of your mind, because your mind is what can help you or take you down. And never, never forget to connect with your heart, because the heart is extremely powerful. We all know that, right? The heart is extremely powerful. So it's the balance between the heart and the mind.
I'm speechless. I'm speechless, Bernadette. Again, we could go another hour, right? So thank you so much. Again, I want to acknowledge, our 4 student facilitators. Again, Isabella, Chloe, me, and Jose. Thank you so much. You were courageous by agreeing to serve in these leadership roles. So thank you so much, student facilitators. And certainly, I want to acknowledge Anne Fontanella. Again, thank you, Anne, for empowering your students, uplifting your students to take on these leadership roles as well. And Amy, again, and Sophia and Juan working behind the scenes with our student leaders. Again, Amy, I love you dearly for doing all that you can for our students. And again, I just want to acknowledge Heather, our student chancellor, for again providing leadership, and of course our student trustee, Malinali Villalobos. Thank you for again representing students on behalf of the different student voices. And Bernadette, again, my goodness, I'm just so touched. We all are. And again, I'm just so glad that we could record this session and share it on our website.
Yes.
So again, thank you. One last plug for the folks who, again, don't know this. We do this once a month. Our next speaker is Jenny Ming. Jenny was a former CEO of Charlotte Russe and Old Navy. She's a former CEO of Charlotte Russe and Old Navy. So we're going to have Jenny join us on September 23rd. I mean, this is remarkable. Bernadette, you're doing this in kind. We're not paying Bernadette, we're not paying Jenny Ming. And again, we have an amazing speaker lineup. And again, students, please tell your friends. Please tell, everybody, anybody over the in the world, right? Hey, you gotta join this Leadership Fireside Chat, because we have an amazing lineup this fall semester. And again, Bernadette, thank you so much. Students, thank you so much. We will provide the recording to you. We have your email, and certainly we look forward to seeing you next month and every month. Last words? Go ahead.
Yes, a couple of things. First of all, is how many of you think that a lot more people should have been on this call?
Absolutely.
Right? Do whatever you can just to spread it. That's one thing. Do them a favor. And let them know not only to watch this, but to be on the next one. That's one first thing. The other thing that I want to say is, for all of you who have already watched the TEDx talk, if this has touched you in any way, please help touch other people. Spread it as much as you can, because I do believe that we're just going to be better, stronger all together. So that's one thing that I would say, just spread it as much as you can, as far as you can. And Jessie, the last thing that I wanted, we talked about it, but without is in terms of the online course, I don't know if you want to say just a word about that, you know, that you and I were talking about. If that is something that you want to mention, I'll let you do that.
Yeah,
but
so,
otherwise, it's been such a pleasure to be with each and every one of you. And it's been really a pleasure to be here. You have no idea. So you're talking about inspiration. I'm inspired by each and every one of you. That's why I do the work that I do. So.
Yeah, thank you, Bernadette. Again, Bernadette's going to email me some information, and I'll email the participants the information. But again, please keep in touch. You have Bernadette's email address, you know, her website. Feel free to reach out to her as well if you'd like to, you know, continue the conversation with Bernadette. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. And students, again, thank you for choosing CCSF. We are just, you know, happy that you're here, and we'll do everything we can to support you during your educational journey. So thank you so much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Have a lovely weekend.